Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm so excited to be here together with you in this virtual space with everyone. I'm going to go ahead and get us started by welcoming you to the series. So welcome to the CAAASA UCLA CCEE Advancing Equity in an Era of Crisis webinar series. The California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators, CAAASA, and the University of California, Los Angeles Center for the Transformation of Schools put this project together to support equity in virtual learning as we all shelter in place to prevent the spread of COVID-19. This work has been made possible by the generous support of the California Collaborative for Educational Excellence, CCEE. We're grateful for their partnership on behalf of California's K-12 public school students. At the end of our live session today, I'm going to ask you to complete a survey to evaluate our time together. We would greatly appreciate it if you would take the time to complete the survey, because we want to make sure that the series continues to be supportive to our participants and to meet your needs. And then if you're watching a recording of this live session later on, you'll have access to that survey as well. And we ask the same thing. Please know that you will have a chance to contribute your comments and questions in the chat. We will be reserving some time at the end of the session to answer some questions. But what you should know is that if we don't get to your question today, you don't need to worry, because we have established an Ask the Experts portal where you'll be able to submit your questions, and an expert will, or someone who has experience with that, with the topic that you're asking about, will respond within 48 hours. So I'll give you the link to that as well. And then the last link that I'll give you will be to the resources page, which I saw a question in the chat from Sherry. And don't worry about the autocorrect. I'm used to, it happens because my name is spelled differently than the consonant, but you will get access to the website that gives you the recordings for today's session and for previous sessions as well, in addition to any resources that you'll have for today. So now, to talk about today's session, we are so privileged to be able to share this space with Lisa Broomfield, who is the Director of Categorical Program and GATE at Moreno Valley Unified School District, and Kymberly Taylor, who is the African American Parent Involvement Specialist in the same district, the Moreno Valley Unified School District, and we'll be engaging today in the topic of parent engagement, establishing positive partnerships. And I must say, personally, I am so excited about this topic. It's something I think about a lot, because there's a big difference between parent or family involvement and partnership. And so I'm really looking forward to learning with all of you today. So I'm going to pass it on to the two of you ladies, and I'll be here I'm watching over the chat and the comments. Please, when you do share comments and questions, make sure you select all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see what you share. And I'll be here throughout the whole session, and then I'll also close us out at the end. All right, take it away, ladies.
Thank you, Africa.
You're welcome.
And thank everyone for being here today with us. We are just delighted to be here with you and to be able to have a conversation with you about engaging parents. Today, we're going to be talking to you about 10 ways to engage African American students and families. And so our focus, Kymberly's focus and my focus in Moreno Valley Unified, is on African American students and their families. So although our focus is on African American students, we are sure that you will be able to utilize the information for whatever parent group you are working with. So again, we want to welcome everyone. You know, say hello to us in the chat. Let us know where you're from, what district you're with. Today's agenda, we're going to tell you a little bit about us, our story, and then we're going to go right into some African American engagement strategies. And we're going to try and leave some time for questions. We sometimes get carried away in our talking, but Africa is going to help us so that we try and have some time for you to share some thoughts with us as well. I'm going to start just by talking to you a little bit about me so you know me. This is my high school senior photo, class of 1981. I don't know who's out there from 1981, but I'm right with you. This is a picture of my mother and me, and this picture is very significant because this is the one and only time my mother came to the school in my K-12 career. She came to visit one time only. My mother sent us to school and she told us to do well, and that was the expectation. And then the day she came to see me, my teacher, I don't know how they got into this conversation, but my teacher told her that I shouldn't have to do chores or anything like that because I was such a good student. And my mom was totally, as you can understand, my mom was upset. So if she had thought about coming back to the school, she didn't after that. This is East High School. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. And of course, the schools look very different from here. All through high school, I worked at Arthur Treacher's Fish and Chips. All of the siblings in my family worked because my mother was, she didn't graduate high school. She had a hard time making ends meet. We had to work to support and help make ends meet. So we learned a great work ethic. After high school, I spent 6 years in the Army, so go Army. That's where I met my husband of, it'll be 36 years for us, Africa, in June. And that is just phenomenal to us because when we grew up, there weren't a lot of people who were married and stayed married. This is a photo of our family. We have 5 kids, 3 boys, 2 girls, and at last count, we have 8 grandchildren. And I didn't put them on here because I would have just stayed all day talking to them. So that tells you a little bit about myself. And then Kim Taylor is going to tell you about herself as well.
Good afternoon. I'm Kymberly Taylor, the African American Parent Involvement Specialist at Moreno Valley Unified School District. First of all, I would like to say that I was born in Morgantown, West Virginia, and most people have no idea, first of all, that West Virginia is separate from Virginia. I had that question asked to me on several times. But Morgantown, West Virginia is a small city in which I grew up in a single parent home with my mother, Sylvia Taylor, which you see in the red jacket on my screen. She moved us to California when I was 16 years old because she heard me say, because I watched TV, that I wanted to go to UCLA because they have a football team, a basketball team, they were on TV. So she was like, okay. So one summer she came to visit my uncle that lived in California, and the rest is history because she moved us out and we drove cross country to California. Papa Do's is my favorite restaurant to go to when I get off the plane, when I go to Texas all the time. And I love Papa Do's. I went to San Diego State University, so I'm an Aztec for life. I have a son, which has 2 grandchildren, and you can see their picture in the middle. And then my daughter and goddaughters in the bottom, which they all have, all but 2 of them have children. And it is a wonderful thing to be a grandmother, which they call me Mimi. And it is just wonderful to be with those little ones. In the corner, you see me with 2 little young men, which are the 2 young men in which my mother adopted from one of our family, which is our cousin. She adopted them. And sometimes it's a joy to be with them, but they do keep a spark in her life, which then keeps a spark in my life.
Thank you, Kymberly. One of the things that we advocate when working with parents is that you share your story because it allows people to connect with you on a more personal level, and then they can understand where you come from, your background, and it just gives them a little insight. And now that we're connected, we're all friends, we're going to start this presentation. And again, we're going to talk about 10 different strategies for youth for engaging with students and families. And Kymberly's going to start us off.
Number 1, be present in the community. We feel and we have learned that this is very important for us as educators, community members, parents, to be present in the community in which you serve and which you live. We put up an example. Every year we co-host with the African American Coalition in our community, our family reunion picnic, which we host in August every year. And every year since the conception of this, it has grown bigger and bigger and bigger. Last year, we had so many resources that were out in the park with the table spread. We had our parents there. The school, each school, there was one school, that came and set up a table to provide resources for those parents that showed up. We had the police department, we had the fire department, we had community resources, how to get free healthcare, everything that was set up. And the parents showed up in a major way. They were able to connect, they were able to get water, food, win prizes, and it was just amazing. but not only in that manner, you as a person to be connected to your community, you could go to any community event that you have, whether it is a musical that the community hosts, whether it's a church that hosts community events all year long in their parking lot. A lot of times in our community, we have several large churches. They host different fairs, spring fairs, winter fairs, back to school fairs. And it is so powerful that when your students and families see that you are in the community and you also participate in the community, that connection builds that trust with the families. I know in Moreno Valley, every 4th of July, we have a huge 4th of July event. And I mean, it's huge, from the parade to the fireworks and everything. And it is so awesome to go out there to see the children, to see the parents, and it really makes a difference.
We have a poll for this question, and the poll, the question is, are you present in the community? And we'd like to kind of find out from participants today, are you present in the community for any events? So question number 1, answer with a yes or a no. Are you present in the community? Again, one of the best strategies for engaging families is seeing you out in the community at different events. So let's see how this poll goes. I know that my superintendent, Dr. Martin Rex-Kedzior, is often out in the community, and the parents and the students and families love seeing him out there. So much appreciate the superintendent for allowing us to do this work with equity. Also, just want to give a shout out to our Board of Education while we're waiting for the poll, and appreciate one of our members is here today. We don't know if someone else is here, but we want to thank all of our board members, our president, Marsha Locke, vice president, Daryl Peden, clerk, Susan Smith, our members, Jesus Holguin, who's always out and about supporting us, and Cleveland, CJ Johnson. Do we have any responses, Africa, to the poll?
Yes, we do. I'm trying to wait for it to get, right now we have 65% of the folks responding, and I want to wait till it gets up to hopefully around 70. And it looks like both questions launch at the same time, so I'll also write down the poll information for the second question. So I'm sorry about how that went.
All right.
Yeah. All right, we have 67. We're almost there.
Again, thank you. Again, shout out to our Moreno Valley family that we hope are participating in our webinar series today, and all our friends and family. Thank you so much for being here while we do this poll, and we hope that everyone we personally know is present in the community, because Kim and I talk about this one a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it because we're at 68%. I'm gonna go ahead and end it so you can see. Are you able to see the data? Can you see it on your end?
No.
Oh wait, I didn't press share results. That would help. Let me share results.
Thank you, Africa. Well, this is very exciting. And we have, yes, 82% of people say they are present in the community. That is just phenomenal. Absolutely. And we want to encourage those who have not been present in the community before, that now after listening to us and seeing the value and power of this and how many people are engaged in the community, we want to encourage you to get out in the community as well. And we'll wait to talk about strategy number 4, question number 2, when we get to that one.
Okay, so I just wrote down that data for now, and then I'll just share that again when we get to that part.
Okay, thank you, Africa.
Okay, no problem.
Stop. Okay, there we go. Strategy number 2. This is one of my favorite ones. Know the name and story of your students and families. It is so vital and so important that we know our students, not just as they come into the classroom and as a student, but we know where they're from and their background. That allows us to be cognizant when things are not going right. For example, during the pandemic, so many of us were worried about some of our students who we knew were at risk already. And then we thought, well, we won't be able to see them. We won't be able to check in on them and know how they're doing until we were able to get our distance learning up and running. And so please, please, please take the time to know your students, know their face, know their story. And again, that's why Kim and I share our story, so that you can connect our faces with our story. I know one of the things that lots and lots of schools and lots of teachers have done during the pandemic is to be out and they drove around the neighborhoods and gave a shout out to their students, and the students were just so very excited to see that their teachers would be in their neighborhood just checking on them. And again, that's so important. It goes with number one, but please take the time always to know the name, face, and story of your students. That's strategy number two.
Okay, strategy number three, respond to African American parents in a way that affirms and respects them. All of our strategies, as you will see, they go hand in hand, but this one is very, very real. When we learn to affirm our parents and respect them, and it makes us be more trustworthy to them. We have to learn to respond respectfully. In the equity works that we're doing and in the equity walks that we have taken at many of our schools in our district, this is what we put out there for our educators and our community members to what's the word I'm looking for them to represent. They need to respond respectfully and effectively to people of all cultures, languages, classes, race, sexes, no matter what. You need to learn to affirm your parents and respect them. And the old saying, you don't know how much you know until you know how much you care. That is what we have to always stand on. Our students, our parents need to know that we care about them and that we respect them enough to learn their names and to be involved within the community in which they represent.
And if I can just add, Kim, that, affirming parents doesn't mean that you agree with everything they do. Affirming means that you respect them enough to listen to their opinions and consider their opinions. And so, sometimes we think that we have to agree with everything. No, we can respectfully disagree with what they're saying. But when they come into us and they talk to us, we need to affirm their right to feel however it is they feel. And it's so important, and you will get much, you will go really far in your work with parents and families when they know that you are respectful of their own beliefs. So thank you, Kim, for that. Number four, I love number four, which is training and practicing with your staff to be welcoming to African American students and families. We know that sometimes parents come into our offices, they come into the district office, they come into our school sites, and they don't always feel that they are acknowledged. The people who work in your front office have to be some of the most welcoming people in the world. And this top picture, you can see that this lady is talking to the student, but you can see by their body language that the student is comfortable, she's smiling, the secretary is smiling right back. We need people in our front offices who smile, not only just acknowledge people, but smile and make them feel at home. This is the test of our hospitality. It's like someone coming to your home for dinner. You want to welcome them in and make them feel that they are welcome and an invited guest. The picture down at the left is one of my favorite restaurants in Kansas City, Missouri, and it's a barbecue restaurant. It's called Gates and Sons Barbecue Restaurant. And as soon as you hit the threshold, they yell, "Hi, may I help you?" And if you've never been there before, it really can startle some people. But the premise is that you are coming into a space where you are welcome. And we need to make sure that our parents and our students and families, community members, whoever comes into our schools feels welcome. Another example of how you can welcome people is the Walmart greeter. I've often said, I can't even be the Walmart greeter because they are standing there and greeting over and over and over again, greeting hundreds of people. And again, though, it's how may I help you? And we really need to learn to welcome our families. And sometimes it just takes practice. Sometimes you might go into an office and the people in the office are talking to each other, but the parent is standing there and they are waiting to be acknowledged. And not being acknowledged causes people to have some angst, so they feel upset. And then their response to you may not be as friendly as it would have been at the beginning. I've gone into places, you know, in my school district. I don't know everyone's. I have gone into schools and not been acknowledged. And sometimes I like to make sure that I'm wearing my name badge so that I'm going to get acknowledged because they know that I work there. And then I know that I'm not going to get upset. But that should not be what we have to do to stay friendly. We want to make sure that everyone, every parent, every grandparent, every aunt, every uncle, you don't want parents to say, I hate going into the school office. One of the greatest compliments we've had at our district office when we started some equity work with Generation Ready, the late Dr. Eric Weatherspoon, he came and met with myself and the superintendent, and he said to us, you know, everyone in this building that I walked past today greeted me. And that was such a source of pride that everyone in the building had taken the time to welcome him. They asked him, did he need any help finding where he needed to go? That's truly the greatest compliment you can have. When someone tells the principal or the assistant principal that your office staff is so friendly, you know, I really appreciate coming here because they're always so helpful. That should be our #1 goal in engaging parents and families, is making them feel like the school is a place where they are welcomed. And I know Africa had some numbers for us on whether the people felt like they were welcomed at school sites.
Yeah, so it looks like 87% of participants who responded feel like they are welcome, and there's 13% who feel like they are not.
Oh, and we hate that there are even 1% that feels like they are not welcome. And one of the things that when you're determining what strategies you're going to use to work with your parents is doing a needs assessment. You know, if of course, if all the parents feel that they are welcome at your school site, then this may not be an area that you have to work on, but it's certainly an area that you want to maintain always, is having a welcoming front office staff.
Number 5, plan a purposeful and inclusive Black History program. This is important to acknowledge Black History Month. Black History Month is the month of February, but Black history is every month. It is American history, and we need to acknowledge it. We need to make sure that our kids learn it. We need to make sure that we connect it to our young people. And it's not just for the African-American students or the African-American parents, but it's for everyone. Make sure that you give a focus to it, not just in February, but you can do little things throughout the year to connect that Black history to our history and to the everyday culture of your school. Be creative in every way. And in our next slide, we have, in our district, we have been so lucky and amazed that our schools have been celebrating Black history for a while. It started out with just maybe 1 or 2 here or there, but as these years have gone on, we now have just about every school in our district celebrating Black history in one way or another. We have a short video to show you for an example.
Today we celebrated Black history, and our theme was Let's Celebrate Black Girls Rock and Brilliant Black Brothers. We were highlighting the contributions of African-American men and women, and I said, oh, I've got to do something with Michael Jackson this year because, you know, he's an icon. And so I decided I'll put those two together and we can have a little dance battle between the boys and the girls, and the kids had a wonderful time. Today we are having our second African American Career Day here at Mountain View Middle, hosted by our Junior Black Achievers Club. The goal of our school district is to focus on our African American students, and so today we have professionals from all walks of life here to inspire our students. We are trying to figure out their successes, their challenges, as they have become professional members of our community, and we're hoping that they're able to inspire our young people to also become professional members of our community in any capacity in which they choose.
what we're doing here today is just exposing the community to a lot of the known and unknown African-American heroes in our history. The activity that we did is called History Changing Lives. We basically put the kids together. They researched some of the African-American heroes that they wanted to research, and we presented it to the school, and they were like a little bit of a treasure hunt where they would find basically the jewels on their study sheet and raise their hands for a prize. The big lesson is just to never forget about our past, to acknowledge our past. There are some good things about our past and some bad things, but to just recognize that it's a rich history that we can all learn from.
So as you can see that we really enjoy going to all the different activities during Black History Month. And our district really puts on a huge celebration as well. So please understand, Black History Month can be celebrated throughout the whole year.
I love it, Kim. That was 3 different examples of how we celebrate. Now we probably have 43 examples set. So you can be as creative as you want, and you can involve all the students in celebrating Black History Month. So again, one of my favorite things now that we've been doing it for a while, and everyone is so excited to be more and more creative. Number 6 is promote an active African-American Parent Advisory Council. I don't know if you have those in Boston, Africa, but here in California, we have been working on our African-American Parent Advisory Council. We call them AAPACs. And we have our parents and community members come together. And the goal of the AAPAC really is to equip, engage, and empower our parents. It provides really a safe space for them to come in and share their thoughts, their feelings. We can talk about academic success. We talk about our test scores and how African-American students are doing in school. We talk about behavior expectations, our suspension rates, everything having to do with African-American students we discuss, and we empower our students to, our families to partner with us and come up with solutions for anything that is not in an area where we would like it to be. If our suspension rates are high, then we talk about what can we do to ensure that our suspension rates are lower? What can we do to support our students in reaching higher academic goals? So the AAPACs, we've been working with these, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 years now, Kymberly, and we have seen the success. We also celebrate each month. We have an AAPAC of the month where we celebrate one of the organizations that's doing very well. And then they come and they share with all the other AAPACs what they're doing. And that's really our goal for all of this. Our presentation is that, the more we know, the more we can share with other people, means that we can all do better. These have been patterned off of our ELAC meetings, but we've tweaked them to make them fit the culture of African-American parents and families. So again, this is a positive space. Sometimes we have been frustrated in getting our parents to come out and participate, but we have been steadfast and have worked until we have some people having meetings where maybe there's 100 parents that come out. We might have a school have a meeting and maybe they only have 15 parents, but this is something that is very worthwhile to do, to work on supporting African-American students and families, again, in a safe space, but a brave space.
Yes, I love that.
So,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Africa.
I just was gonna tell you that I'm so excited to see this because in the Boston area, we are supposed to have something, not quite an African-American Parent Advisory Council, but we have it like in the regulations for all school districts and all schools. There's supposed to be a school site council where there are family members who are members, where it's a council of folks who are deciders and shot callers and decision makers, right? Not just about like come to open house or come to literacy and math night, but like, no, you are family members and you sit at the table, but not, even though it's something that's expected, it's not always in existence. And so I'm really happy to see this as a model of something that we could potentially follow.
It is Africa, and and Kim and I are available to travel to Boston to help you.
Yes, anytime. Anytime, we're coming.
Your APACs there. That is also something that we do. One of the presentations that we do is supporting APACs to get started. So be happy to send you some resources on that also, although we know your kids are just about finished with the K-12 system, but still, we'd be happy to come out and share information with you.
That would be fabulous because, like, even though my babies are about to be out, there's a whole bunch of other children in this space who are still there, and so we need it. We need it. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Number 7, positively recognize African American students and families. We know a great way to connect with our families, parents, is to recognize the students. But one way that Lisa came up with last year, which we had our first parent celebration, is the African American Parent Awards. And this was such an amazing event. Every school in our district chose one African American parent to recognize, one that they thought that they recognized on campus. Maybe this parent volunteered on campus and did whatever on campus, but they recognized that parent. And these parents came to a sit-down dinner. They came in, they were able to get an award. We gave them awards, not only from our district, we get the city council people gave awards. It was like a community type awards, and we honored these parents. And the picture that you see are all of the parents with our superintendent and board members. Even on top of just the regular every school getting awards, our superintendent, who is so supportive and amazing, he did his own awards. He created the superintendent awards for those parents that he had interacted with throughout the year, in which I will tell you, our superintendent knows our parents and students by name and face, and he can tell you everything that goes on, you know, that he has information of. So it really was an amazing night, and we are so sad that we didn't get to have it this year because of the pandemic, but just believe that this was a great way, because our parents that participated in this, they still work alongside of us. And it built up our APACs, it built up just the support that we needed when it even came time to working with their students.
Yes, it was a great event, and we can just share that, you know, we're giving you the best that we have, but we want to make sure that you understand that, you know, events like this, we still struggle. We did have schools that we had to really push, you know, to get a nominee from them. And sometimes you struggle like that, where you have to say, you know, can you just think of just one African-American parent at your school site that we can recognize? And so we are working towards this. And as Kim says, you know, we are very lucky, very blessed to have the support of our superintendent, Dr. Martin Rex Kidzior, who is an equity warrior in his own right. And as Kim said, just when we think we got an idea that can top him, he can come up with something that's even better. So we so appreciate what he does and his support of us. Number 8, promote African-American student involvement in academic and extracurricular activities. Unfortunately, we know that our students are often involved in sports, but we are not as active in things like AVID, which is the college going culture program. We're not involved in AP classes, IB programs and things like that. And so we're ecstatic that last year we received the AP District of the Year Award for our open door policy for AP classes. And this is a student, you'll see our superintendent talking a little bit about our district in just a second. And this is Josiah, and we're gonna talk about him just a little bit after we show this short clip.
Moreno Valley Unified School District, we serve students from very different backgrounds and ethnicities. We have about 84% of our students are on free and reduced lunch. About 24% are English learners. There's about 3,000 students who are identified as homeless.
The majority of our students will be first-generation college students.
Our community is full of students who, on paper, you wouldn't assume could be as successful as some students who live in higher socioeconomic areas, but we don't let that discourage any student from enrolling in AP courses.
When I first got into the AP program, definitely the horror stories came up, that the homework is kind of crazy, the tests are really hard, and that you won't leave that class with an A.
I don't know why we focus always on telling our kids the negative of the situation, why they can't do something. That's Josiah talking, and we need to make sure that we encourage our African-American students to be a part of AVID, that we encourage them to stretch and take AP classes where they can earn college credits while they're yet in high school. And we need to make sure that they're involved in organizations like decathlon, academic decathlon, and we have here, I don't know if you have it, mock trial, where our students actually experience what it is to be a lawyer. They can be the prosecution, they can be the defense attorney, or the judge. And Josiah was talked into this program by our superintendent. It was very persuasive. You saw him in the clip. And his parents were not thrilled that he was going to be in academic decathlon, in mock trial, because they were more into the sports. But our kids can do it all. So they can do sports, they can do academics, they can do the arts, and we need to encourage them to reach their full potential and have it available, access to it. This is what we're talking about, access. And that's why we earned the award for our open door policy that allows any student in Moreno Valley to be a part of AP classes. But we have to go beyond just allowing them to be in the AP classes, and we need to encourage them. We need to talk with our parents so they understand the benefits of being in AP classes and not just have someone talking to them or telling them, maybe you don't want to take that class because you won't be able to get an A. We need to silence the naysayers, and we need to promote those who are positively affirming our students and families. And this is something that, again, as Kim said, these strategies kind of layer upon each other, and they all go together for the good of our students. But we need to make sure that our students have the opportunity and are encouraged to take the opportunities that allow them to reach their maximum potential in school, in careers, in life. I just read an article I was sharing with my superintendent about another district that had 3 African-American valedictorians in their high school. And we want to promote so that our students are right up there at the end competing for those top spots at high schools and elementary and in middle school, because they can do whatever they want to do and whatever they aspire to be, but we need to expose them to those opportunities. So that is 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to answer your question, my husband and I, with our kids, we live in a bit outside of Boston, but I used to be the curriculum and instruction director for a nonprofit called Discovering Justice. And one of our programs was that we would have partnerships with lawyers and the courthouse in Boston, where they would, provide mentorship to students throughout the school year, and then they would engage in mock trial, which it was like a big, huge event that we put on, and it was amazing. So it's something I really wish that all schools had, definitely.
Absolutely, just as it is amazing, and it's a big deal. And our students have shown that whatever they tackle, they can do well at.
Yes. Number 9, provide mentoring services for students who may lack positive role models they can personally connect to. In our school district, we have numerous mentoring groups that we partner with. They come in and they come to the school site and they provide that extra support person for 1 student, 2 students, a group of students, however many students. And it's definitely something that we have found to be useful, because we know that you on your campus as a student or as a parent, you may need that extra support, but even educators may need another person to come in and support another student. We can't do everything. Even though we know as educators, we are the superhumans that everybody thinks that we are, sometimes we need that extra support. And being connected to a mentor. We have mentoring groups that do yoga on campus. We have mentoring groups that come in and meet with just the males. We have mentoring groups that come in and meet with just the females, elementary, all the way up through high school. And it makes a difference. They connect to these young people, and it gives that young person an extra support person that they can go to and to talk with and to listen.
And I'd like to point out also, if you take a look at the mentors in this picture, they don't look like the average teacher that you might see on campus. They look like, you know, they could be brothers or a family member of those students who are in need of mentoring. And sometimes that type of connection it works better than, you know, if one of our own teachers was doing it. Like Kim said, our teachers do a phenomenal job. Our administrators do a phenomenal job of trying to connect with students, but sometimes they just need someone who maybe looks a little bit more like them, or who is of a closer age group. We have a variety of ages for our mentors. Some of them are college students, and they're able to connect with our students and show them how they can connect to college and what they're going to go through. They can talk to them on just a level that we can't talk to them on, you know. And of course, we know that all students don't need a mentor, but you heard our superintendent talk about our demographics. We have a lot of students who are in the foster care system, a lot of students who are living below the poverty level with about an 84% poverty level. We have a lot of students who are homeless. And so sometimes, you know, providing them with an additional connection is one of those things that really just allows them to flourish, you know. And so we have partnered with, I don't know how many organizations. We partner with churches, we partner with mentoring organizations, with fraternities, with sororities. And so, and some of them are just mentoring consultants. And so meeting the needs of our students is really vital, you know, in terms of engaging students, because if we don't meet them at their needs, if we don't provide things that they need, such as food if they're hungry, or supports for our foster students, maybe providing them with one-to-one devices. And this connection allows students to be comfortable enough even to talk about what they may need in terms of support, because all students are not just going to, you know, when we grew up, it was, you know, what happens at home stays at home, and you didn't even come to school and talk about what you need. And teachers are have their hands full with an entire classroom of students. So sometimes, as Kim said, providing this additional support. If you haven't considered having a mentor, I would hope that after seeing us and hearing us talk about the value of mentors, that you would do so. During this pandemic, our mentors continue to meet through distance learning via Chromebook and online with their mentees, and that has just made a tremendous difference in connecting with some of these students. And again, every student doesn't need a mentor, you know, but some do. Some have positive role models in their families already, and they, you know, they're good, all their needs are being met. But for the many students who have a need, mentors can serve a very valuable role in supporting our students and ensuring that they, again, are able to reach their maximum potential in school and outside of school. So that's number 9. For number 10, which is the most important one, we are looking for you to share with us something that maybe you do in engaging and reaching your families. And so we're hoping that you are going to share a strategy with us that we're going to add to our repertoire of strategies. So in the chat, if you can give us a strategy, something that you do to engage your students and families, and, you know, that would support them. Please, 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 that's what this is all about. It is about sharing techniques and strategies so that we can all meet our needs. So hopefully you are adding something in the chat that would help us.
Yeah.
Kymberly?
And I was going to say, is it okay if I ask one of the questions that appeared earlier while to give people time to populate in the chat?
Yeah.
One of the questions I think is really something I'm curious about too is, have you noticed in your work where you, like how you had mentioned before, that sometimes it's hard to get some like folks and families to come out to some of the meetings, but then you have prizes and celebrations and things like that. Have you noticed that now that we've been in the pandemic and engaging virtually, have you seen participation increase because of the virtual access, or no? Any thoughts about that?
I don't think we've seen an increase because of the pandemic. I haven't seen an increase in that, Kim.
No, I haven't seen an increase at all.
Okay, so no, not so much because of the pandemic, but because things were more accessible virtually because of the pandemic. Like I think the question is inferring, like, is it more available for folks to be able to participate because they can potentially do it at home if they have devices and internet access and things like that?
Well, that's kind of having the premise that engagement means helping your child with classwork or because during the pandemic, kids are at home, so you're not actively engaged in the community. You're not coming out. It's not about being at a school event. It's not about access to increase academics during the pandemic. If anything, I mean, it was a struggle to do the same thing that we're doing in the classrooms through virtual distance learning. And so I think that would, be assuming that that's the only way parents are able to be involved. I think that, in our district, we had devices from TK through 12th grade for all of our students made available. And so typically we have grades 3 through 12, but our district was very forward thinking and provided devices for all the way from our TK students in preschool all the way through 12th grade. And we did a little data sharing with our Glenn Allegri, our Director of Technology, Innovation, and Assessment. And we found that of our 34,000 students that, only a very small portion of students did not connect using an electronic device, a very small number. So we were very pleased with the success of our distance learning program. But I think if anything, it would be less involvement on our parents' parts than more.
Okay, because I apologize because I don't think I was clear enough about the question. Is wondering if the council meetings had transitioned to an online space. So not so much what the students are doing, but more so the actual meetings of the council.
We didn't, and we're, depending on what happens with the fall, if the fall continues to be like this, we will transition to a virtual meeting place. But because we were going to distance learning, it was a lot already for parents to absorb with having their kids at home.
Absolutely.
Having kids at home and learning to support them with their lessons online. And so we held back, but as Kim said, we're looking forward to our plan to reopen and to see how we will support our families virtually if we have to, and otherwise.
Awesome. Well, we have some responses, and thank you so much for your answer to that question. We have one person who's saying that they have a Black oratorical fest standing on the shoulders of greatness. TK through high school families participate.
I love that.
Right? Isn't that awesome? And then another person said we host a district Black honor roll ceremony twice a year. Someone else said that they use grants and creative, and I'll make sure that you have access to the chat comments. They use grants and creative resources to assure students have access to books and curriculum resources that have characters and subjects that look like them or mirror their experiences. Someone said, since I am I'm a part of MVUSD. I have the benefit of participating with AAAC and AAPAC. The support and ideas have helped us to strengthen our AAPAC. We still have a lot of work to do, but we are motivated and excited about it, and have the benefit of having Lisa and Kim facilitate. So a shout out to y'all, right? Yeah. Someone else mentioned doing a yearly career day at the middle school that showcases many professionals from the community that are African American. So the students are able to see successful individuals who look like them and actually speak to them. And if the families have businesses, they provide an informal network of sharing. So examples, they have restaurant owners and small retail shops. So for example, like a balloon shop where they can share resources with one another. And I think, let's see. I think that was it. Oh wait, nope. Someone said I love to do home visits. We've had teacher and versus student dance battles, which that reminds me of when I was in the classroom too. I'm not that great of a dancer, but I have intensity. I could try, right? And then someone else, the person also mentioned that currently their daughter is doing a project about her family and creating a family tree. Yeah, so I think those are the majority of the responses that came through.
Well, I think those are ideas that I would steal in a minute, and we may be incorporating a lot of those ideas for the next year for Kim Taylor, because they sound phenomenal. And especially that one about the orations. I mean, that's something that in the history of African American cultures is one that probably would really engage our parents and our families in doing. We love spoken word and things like that. So that would be a really great event, I think, to incorporate into our strategies, a lot of those. So thank everyone for sharing those ideas and strategies with us. We so appreciate them, and we will be adding them in. And we want to make sure that we have some time if there are other questions that you might have for Kymberly or myself during this time. We will be more than happy to answer those. We also want to share our contact information in case you would like to email us or anything like that. Again, one of our favorite things to talk about is the development of African American Parent Advisory Councils, our AAPACs. We do go out to different schools and make presentations or share our resources with those who need them. And so please, please, please feel free to contact us by email. We are working from home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. But I think that, having strategies to work with our African-American students is going to be even more important once the pandemic is over and we return to school in light of the current, climate for African-American families. So please, take advantage of anything that we have as a resource. We welcome you to use it and work on doing a needs assessment or whatever you need to do in your district to determine what types of support would work in your district. And we'd be happy to talk to you about those as well.
All right, so I just scrolled through the chat, but most of it is it's like a huge amen corner going on in the chat. There's lots of folks just really so excited about the resources, lots of folks sharing, the answers for strategy 10 about some of the ideas that they included. There was a question a bit earlier around how you had mentioned that, trying to make sure that folks are able to come to the meetings. One of the questions was about what are some of the ways that where there may have been barriers to people participating, what are some of the ways that you overcame some of those barriers?
Well, we've been very creative in how to break down the barriers, and we try to meet the parents, where they are. And a couple of great ideas that some of our sites have used is, one had a pancake breakfast. I didn't get to go, but Miss Lisa went to the pancake breakfast, and the pancake breakfast invited the parents out in the morning, fed them breakfast with them and their student, and then gave them information, viable information pertaining to the school, what resources were available. We've had, other schools, they do in the evening time, they've had dinners or they've had donuts, however you bring your parents or whatever your parents tell you in that survey that you will give out to them and how they want to connect, you reach them that way. It has been many different strategies. I know we also take parents to the CAAASA conference with us for the parent portion of it. And that has been an amazing transformation for a lot of our parents when they go and they see other parents and then they get the same knowledge that we're getting, and then they're actually coming back and they feed it to the other parents that they are connected to. It is definitely transformational. Try everything. Every single thing will work, not just for everybody, but for a small portion. And then that small portion connects to the other small portion. And then you have, a wide variety of information being given out.
Yeah, I mean, we've had things like people will say, well, where do you get the money to do the activities? And, you know, this year we tried something new because we wanted our schools to really have the funding to do some, you know, to try some new things. And so we, you know, when we went out, we presented our leadership summit that we put on every year before school starts. And those administrators and teacher leaders who came to our session, we gave them coupons for $500 to support your AAPAC activities. We did a grand prize, like we did a raffle, and we gave one school $2,500 to do activities at their school site, because we want to put our money where our mouth is, and we know sometimes budgets are tight. So we did that a couple of times. Those who came out to the the family reunion in August. Again, we gave every parent who stopped by our booth a coupon for $250 for their school to do some parent activities, some AAPAC activities. And so sometimes money can be the problem, sometimes just other supports. Now that we have Kim goes out and talks to those people who are wanting to do an AAPAC and gives them ideas. And so when they have strategies, we try to help them, whether it's in sending phone calls home, or, you know, doing things like, you know, raffles, how to get, you know, parents out. And so they come to us and we try to look at those issues and do what we can. And again, sometimes it's money, sometimes it's time, sometimes it's other resources, and we can help with that. Sometimes we provide guest speakers. We go out and speak at the different school sites. And so whatever is needed, we have one person who is the contact person at every school site for AAPAC. And so we have an AAPAC brochure that lists who is the contact person for each school. So as barriers come up, you know, again, we are very supported by our district staff, our cabinet, our superintendent, our board of education, and they come out to all the events. And so as issues come up, we just try to tackle it, you know, and they're going to come up, whether it's, you know, you got all this stuff prepared and only 2 parents came, you know, and so we just work with each other and try to do whatever we can to support them.
And another idea to also connect them is we have in our middle schools what we call the Junior Black Achievers, and in high schools, the Black Student Unions. And when you take those student groups and you work with them and you bring them in and connect with them, that connects the parents to you as well. And you utilize that platform as well to bring the parents in and to get them connected, therefore, you know, getting the information out as best as possible. And that's another strategy that we have used in our district.
Thank you both so much. I mean, this has been fabulously, especially even though I'm on a whole other coast, like it's been so, all this information like is universal, right? Like how we can really support one another. And I saw like there were comments in the chat about having the opportunity to be unapologetically Black and to focus on Black kids and Black families is not something you always have a chance to really like lean into and enjoy and explore. So thank you both so much for that. I want to go ahead. So thankfully we have the contact information here right on the slide that you can see. I'm going to also, I put in the chat already, but I'll put it in again, the link to the survey for today's session. So please go ahead and take that quick survey so we can get feedback from you. I also am going to drop in right now if there are questions that come up for you after today's session and you would like to submit it to the Ask the Experts portal. That's the link that I'm dropping in right now. And then the third link that I'll drop in is the one I made reference to earlier, and some of you have asked about that in the chat, where it's like, how can I get access to the recording for today's session so I can share it with friends and colleagues and things like that? This is the next link that I'm going to be putting in. So if you go to the link that I just dropped in, and just give us a second, like not today because it's Friday, but like next week, check and make sure that we have the chance to like download the recording and then upload it into the website and the presentation as well. And so please know that those resources will be available. And just thank you all so much for your time and for facilitating such a marvelous session today. If anyone's going to be participating next week, I'll probably see you because I'll be facilitating all the final 4 days next week. So I'll see you all there. I just hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day and a beautiful weekend. And I don't know if the two of you wanted to say anything in closing.
I just want to thank you, Africa, and congratulations to you on your daughters graduating high school.
Thank you.
So put shameless plug-in, as my superintendent will be doing one of the webinars next week, I think on Thursday. And so tune in to see Dr. Martin Rex Kedziora talk about, I think, strategies for reopening during the COVID.
Critical.
And thank you so much for helping us and supporting us today. You know, we're gonna have to come out there and visit you.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. Yes, thank everyone. We just hope everyone has a great weekend, stay safe,
Yes.
and make sure that you guys tune in next week for more great strategies and more great resources that CAAASA is putting out there during this COVID-19.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. And like, I definitely echo this sentiment. Stay safe, take good care of yourselves, and much love to everybody. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.